Hey guys, today we're in the book of Exodus, chapter 38. So, as we continue in this listing of Israel actually building what God has told them to build for the tabernacle, we start with the altar. They build the altar. And then notice in verse 8, it starts with the bronze basin. There's something interesting here about this bronze basin. They make a bronze basin from the mirrors of the ministering women who ministered in the entrance of the tent of the meeting. Notice this, the mirrors. Now, mirrors necessarily wasn't a thing, but it was shined metal, right? It was glossy metal that they could see themselves. And it's just interesting that it gives this, um, it tells us what was actually given. A lot of this, when it talks about gold and silver, it doesn't necessarily tell us what it was. Some was from money, some was from jewelry, but we're not really sure of exactly what made every part. But here we see that it is mirrors. These group of women, not all women, but this particular group of women gave up their mirrors. They gave God their beauty, right? A mirrors to see your reflection so they would see themselves, make sure they were appropriate, they liked what they saw, but they give that up for God. Now, that's interesting, but notice what it says, the mirrors of the ministering women who ministered in the entrance of the tent of meeting. This word ministering, there, you will only see this word in the Hebrew Bible one other time, and that's in 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 22. And it talks about the ministering women at the temple. And so it's interesting because it's this word ministering. It's actually a word used everywhere else in the Old Testament as ordering themselves for war. So, like getting into order, like getting into a squad or a platoon. And here we see that there was a group of women who daily devoted their lives to going to the entrance of the tabernacle to do ministering. They probably helped the Levites. They probably helped these people, Israel, as they're making things and moving things. There was just a group of women who wanted to help along with the men. Just something that is interesting there. They go on and they're making the court. This is that kind of fabric kind of privacy fence that goes all the way around. But not only that, they're making the bases, the poles, the rings, the fabrics. They're making all of that. And then notice it says, talking about the materials for the tabernacle. Verse 21, it says, as they were recorded at the commandment of Moses. Somebody's keeping task of everything that is used. And who is this? And how are they doing this? Well, we see that there's multi-layered, just like a corporation today, there's multi-layers of management. We see that here in this section. Notice verse 21, we learn of a guy named Ithmar, the son of Aaron. Ithmar is a person who is over the Levites, not all Levites, but the Levites who manage all of the things of the tabernacle, right? So you kind of have like workers, you have managers, and then you have kind of like the general manager. Ithmar is kind of like the general manager. So we can see, and we'll continue to see as we read, that there's multiple layers, right? God has instilled into these people that it's not just do whatever you want, but everybody has a place and everybody's given a place to serve and to work. And it's just interesting that it says. The rest of this chapter just tells us a lot of numbers, and I know unless you look them up, you don't really know what we're talking about. So I wanted to look some of these up. Verse 24 tells us that they had 29 talents of gold. That's 2,030 pounds of gold. And then we see in verse 25, they had 100 talents of silver. That's 7,500 pounds of silver. In verse 29, we see that they had 70 talents of bronze, which is 5,300 pounds of silver. So I've read about a lot about making the tabernacle. And it's interesting in if you were to make it today exactly as the Bible specified, you would have over 19,000 pounds, 19,000 pounds of materials, including metal, fabrics, leather, tent pegs. I mean, the whole deal, right? And so think about this as Israel moves, as they follow God, as God's going to lead them, right? It's not like they're just setting up a tent. This is a 19,000 pound tent that is holy, that can barely be touched. Think about that, right? So God isn't telling them just to make a tent. This is a structure like none other, a movable structure like none other that would have taken a lot of people. It would have taken precision. It would have taken time. It would have taken effort, but it was all worth it to meet with God, right? That's the point of what we are reading here in chapter 38. That's all the point of all this work to meet with God. But yet Jesus, or God, sends his son Jesus so that we don't have to work to meet with him. We don't have to be of all of this laborious work and to do all of these things, but we can simply meet Jesus where he is at. And so I hope that that makes a little bit more sense, puts in your mind kind of the kind of dimensions and the labor intensive of what it would take to build, to move, to erect, to construct, to deconstruct, and to move again the tabernacle. Hope that makes sense. We'll see you tomorrow in chapter 39. God bless.